What's up, what's up? So today we're gonna be talking about 3 things that are important to be able to make so much money that it feels like you're cheating when you're not. Okay, so this takes me back, okay? This takes me back. A little while back, it was January of 2024. That was my first time where I made so much money that it really felt like it was cheating. It was just like, how is there that much money coming in? Just wasn't really used to that. I didn't really have a ton of money beforehand. I was driving around a Nissan. I didn't have really much money before I started my journey of entrepreneurship. And I remember going into the month and someone telling me, hey, you need to do 100,000 in business this month. I was like, 100,000 in business? Like, okay, yeah, like people do that, but like me do that? Like, my best month before that was like 30,000. I was like, what? So he's like, yeah, 100,000. We're gonna have a contest, see who can do 100,000. I was like, okay, all right, let's do it. So I basically, I locked myself in my basement and I stayed down in my basement for pretty much 12 hours a day, like every single day. And I remember just sitting in front of my computer the whole entire time, just grinding, trying to, I was making sales, do 100,000. Just making a sale basically every single day, multiple sales every single day. And it didn't really click for me until I started to see the first paycheck in January. And after I saw like, okay, $20,000 paycheck come in on a weekly basis, I was like, holy crap, like $20,000, like that's, for me, like that was like really good to make in a month. And I made that in a week. And I was like, okay, $20,000, cool. And then I just kept selling and selling. And the money kept coming in, and I was like, this like doesn't feel real. Like, how was there that much money coming in just by me sitting in front of this computer? Yeah, I'm locked in 12 hours a day, but I'm not like, doing anything crazy. I'm not like traveling the world or like skydiving or like, like doing, like I'm not like the president. I'm not doing these crazy things. I'm just locked in the basement, just working. It's pretty straightforward, just monotonous things. Like, it's not like I had to do anything genius in order to do it. It was just the same thing over and over again. Sale. So I got to the end of the month and I ended up making $100,000. And I had never made that much money in a month or anything even close to that. The year prior, actually, I had made $100,000 over the course of a year. So I'd have that in a month. I was like, wow, that's like $1 million if I keep doing that every single month. So I had no idea what to do with it. So what I do? Well, I kept that pace and then I bought a McLaren and I bought a couple other things, bought some watches, you buy clothes. People look at you different whenever you start making that money. The real thing that happened after that is I started to get respect. Started to get respect from my peers, started to get respect from other people. If you pull up to the place with a McLaren or with a nice watch or like good suit, whatever it may be, you learn how to talk, you learn how to walk different, everything around you changes. So what would that look like for you? Imagine yourself. Imagine how would your life be different if you made $100,000 this month? How would you think of yourself? How would people around you think? How much more confidence would you have? What little bills and little things that pop up in your life that cause you stress and worry right now would be just a speck in the wind? What would that be like? I can tell you right now that it's freeing, it's liberating. You don't have to worry about these little bills and different various things that pop up. Matter of fact, those become so far gone, you can go and just buy really anything you see. You can go to stores and buy things without looking at price tags. Now that was January 2024, so obviously we're rewinding a little bit far back here, but let me tell you, I didn't slow down at all. As a matter of fact, that actually motivated me more to push even harder. See, there's downward spirals. People always talk about downward spirals in life. Oh, somebody gets drunk and then they get a DUI and then, their girlfriend breaks up with them and then they quit their job and then they start smoking weed and the person's life has a downward spiral. Let me tell you, there's also upward spirals too. So as soon as you start catching some success, as soon as you start catching some momentum goes in both ways. It doesn't differentiate between if it's a downward spiral or it's an upward spiral. It's like, okay, boom, start making a couple sales. Okay, boom, now you're making $100,000 in a month. Okay, boom, you got a McLaren. Okay, boom, you get this exposure. Okay, boom, now you have credibility among your peers. You can start recruiting. Okay, boom, you can have a team. You can be able to teach people how to do it. There's upward spirals just like there are downward spirals in life. So that's That's the first time I started making so much money that it really just didn't even feel real. Now, you have to understand something. There's something that's very important in order to be able to even make that jump, to be able to make that kind of money, and it's that most people trade time for money. This is most people, okay? You have time, and you trade that. That's a clock for money. This is what most people do. They trade their own time for money. The thing is, with time, it is finite. There's only so much time. So if this is finite, then that means that this is also going to be finite. If you have a finite amount of time, please understand this. If you have a finite amount of time, then you're only going to be able to make a finite amount of money if you are trading time for money. So what do you need to do? You need to find something else to trade for money, not time. What you need to trade for money is something of value. Why? Because this right here can be scaled. So everyone talks about scaling their income. Cool. How do you scale your income? You find something that you're trading for money that can be scaled. So you have to have some sort of valuable thing that can be scaled so that way your income can be scaled. So what are some things that are of value that you can trade for money that you can scale? I'll give you some examples. A product. If you have a product, let's say you sell makeup. Okay, cool. You sell makeup, you sell, whatever. I don't know anything about makeup. You sell $30 lipstick. Okay, one person buys it. Cool. One person bought your $30 lipstick and you made 20 bucks from it. Okay, cool. How do you make $2,000? Okay, cool. What you want to do is you want to sell 100 of them. All right. Well, how do you make, that's to make $2,000. How do you make $200,000? Okay, then you just sell 100 times 100 of those. Okay, so that's all it is you just have to be able to scale a product and then you're able to scale your income. Like, that's not a very difficult concept, but why do so many people get stuck in 9-to-5s? Why do so many people get stuck getting paid hourly? Why do so many people get stuck paying salary? You're just going to continue to slave away your time for money like a slave, because the only thing that is different between somebody that is an actual slave versus somebody that is a slave in modern society is that the government and that society in general has put money in between it. They give you enough money so that way you're able to have some sort of mortgage paid and some sort of rent paid or whatever it is, and you're exchanging that for labor. That's literally what is going on in society. That's literally what it is. Okay? So you need to get out of the matrix and you need to get into where you're trading money for value. So the first way you can trade money for value is some sort of product. The second way you can trade money for value is with some sort of skill set. A skill set can be traded for money. That's like a service you can provide that could be whatever it may be. So you could think, even for example, this could be professional sports, right? Let's say if you're the best quarterback, then you're able to trade that skill set, you're able to scale that skill set so that way you can scale income with that. That's why the worst quarterbacks get paid the lowest amount of money, but the best quarterbacks get paid the best amount of money. Okay, what's another way this can be transferred? The most common one that you see, which is, by the way, this is going to be the fundamental building block of value exchange, is sales. The fundamental building block of value exchange is sales. Nothing happens, no money gets transferred at all without a sale happening. So you should learn how to sell. Doesn't matter if you're selling makeup, doesn't matter if you're selling yourself to Roger Goodell of the NFL on why you should be a quarterback in the NFL. You need to learn sales. It's a fundamental of value exchange. You need to learn that. Okay? So we learned the process of sales, of exchanging something for money. So what are you basically doing? You're exchanging something you have in order to be able to obtain money. So you have to get really good at valuing something and taking people's money. That's what that is. If you can get really, really good at providing value to something so that way you can exchange that for money, you'll make a lot of money. All right, so sales. So this right here is sales. You're selling time for money here. That's pretty bad sales, right? exchanging value for money, that's sales. That's what can be scaled. So in order for our income to be scaled, we have to learn how to sell more, because if we're able to sell more, that's where the scalability is going to happen. Cool. All right. So how do we sell more? 3 ways, 3 most important things, 3 fundamental building blocks of sales are this. Okay. Number 1. Trust. Nobody is going to buy anything from you if they don't trust you. That's why whenever you get a text message saying you want a free iPhone 16, you don't click on the link, because you know it's not real. You're not going to believe that and click on that. You don't trust it, right? So why do you think whenever you call a prospect or whenever you're trying to sell somebody and they just hang up on you right away, or they just don't even get engaged with whatever you're trying to present, why do you think they do that? They're not being rude to you. It's not because your voice sounds weird. You know what it is? It's because you sound like a dummy on the phones. It's because you sound like a dummy whenever you're trying to present it. It's because your website looks like trash. That's why it's like that. You need to do something that's establishing some sort of trust from the get-go. Trust is the platform which value is actually built off of, which leads me to point number 2. Second building block of sales is value. Anytime somebody says that they can't afford something or they don't want something, you are not good enough at valuing whatever you are selling. And the reason why you're not good enough at valuing what you're selling is because you don't believe in it. You don't believe in it, and you don't know the best way to portray that. Let's say I'm selling you this eraser right here. Here's what an amateur sale of value would be. Oh yeah, this is a really good eraser. This eraser, it erases. It's an Expo. It's gray. It's not how you value. You don't value by telling. You value by asking. Hello, sir. Yeah. So, yeah, erasers. I mean, I'm not really sure if you need an eraser. Why do you really want an eraser? Okay, is there anything that you would use it for? I'm not really sure what I use it for. I guess erasing. Okay, I'm not even sure if you would really even need this then. I mean, do you even have anything you really need to erase? I'm not sure. I mean, do you think about anything like maybe in the future? Like, because again, like I wouldn't want to give this to you if you don't really need it. So like, should we just maybe, I don't know, maybe give it to somebody else? Or like, do you really even feel like when would you actually even use this? Like, when do you think you would use this? I guess I would use it for XYZ. Like, let's say something like this, like, oh, I have a whiteboard at home, or I have a, like they start revealing stuff to you whenever you ask questions. Oh, I'm a teacher, part-time, whatever, But like, okay, so like with what you're currently doing with teaching, or what you're currently doing with your whiteboard at home, why do you do that? Why do you do that? Oh, I do that because that is, something I put my vision board on at home. I write all my visions on there. Okay, so you write your visions on there. Okay, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I have a vision board too. So why is that really something that's important to you, your vision board? Oh, well, my vision board, that has all my life goals on it and has everything that I want to be able to do in life. Oh, okay, so, I mean, do you feel like it's like important right now with your vision board and like all your life goals? I mean, don't you feel like maybe that's something that you should be, I don't know, prepared with? Don't you think you should be prepared? You should have like a backup eraser for your life goals? Yeah, he'll buy this for $5, no problem, right? So value is directly related to how well you can solve somebody's problem that you create. You create a gap between what their problem is and where they're currently at, and you fill that gap by asking them questions and making them think about how they would feel about something that's important to them. But again, too many dummies will go, oh yeah, well you need this. Yeah, well you need this. No, I don't. No, I don't. Knee-jerk reaction. No, I don't. Right? So value, that's the second way that this is the most, I'd say this is the most important one. And actually, in order to be able to sell, by the way, the greater the value is, the greater people will be able to pay for it. If somebody says something's too expensive, it's just because you didn't create enough value for the price that you're asking for, okay? That all leads me into point number 3. Nobody cares about the value you're providing at all unless you have point number 3. Status. Imagine if I told you at the beginning of this call, or beginning of this video, imagine if I told you that, oh yeah, my best month I made like $10,000. You probably wouldn't be watching the video at this point in time. You'd probably be done watching it. But it wasn't. My first big month was $100,000. That was my first big month. I had plenty of sense then. That was my first time making a lot of money, right? What does that do? That raises your status of me in your head, so that way it's worth listening to, because it's like, this person probably knows something that I don't know. So a lot of times with status, what people will mess up is they allow for the status to be ruined at the beginning of the call, and the hardest way to win status is to try and recover it. You can't lose your status and then try to recover it. That's a really hard thing to do. Instead, you have to start off with high status and just don't let them diminish it. That doesn't mean you be rude to them whatsoever, but that's just, you tell it how it is. Tell about the good things that you've done. And if you don't have good things going on right now, let's say you only have 1 or 2 people in your schedule, guess what? Act like your schedule's booked up. Act like you have slots filled up every single 15 minutes and they can hear that in your voice. Yeah, I'm sorry, but I'm super booked up right now. I have appointments every single 15 minutes. I might be able to slide you in. Let me see here. Oh, geez, I mean, it is slammed. I'll tell you what. Oh, geez, okay, I'll tell you what. You said you get home at work at 3? Okay, this just, only one that really works. I do have a 3:45. Silence. Okay, yeah, that works. Okay, let me put you in real quick. Yeah, sorry, I'm absolutely booked. Okay, let me put you in. Okay, great. That's how you develop status, is by being super, super, super busy, because then they're gonna respect you. They respect you, and because it's like, hey, if this person's busy, then there's clearly things that are, he's clearly doing business at a high level if he's that busy. So busyness is the first level of status, and I would say results are the second level of status. So you could say, yeah, I'm super booked up, da, 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 da. You could say, yeah, because, you know, there's just, you don't want to tell clients you're making so many sales, but let's say you're selling makeup. You could say, yeah, because like all the makeups are like sold out. You know, we're just buying in bulk, so many orders, and we can't even keep up with how many people are buying them. Okay, boom, now you're busy, and now you have results to prove it. Guess what? As soon as you get makeup to come in, guess what they're gonna do? They're gonna buy it in a heartbeat. You're gonna text them, they're gonna text right back. They're not gonna put you on red. So those are the 3 fundamental building blocks of sales, which is what is actually going to be able to allow you to generate the kind of revenue that you're trying to generate. Because remember, the fundamentals of any sort of economy is sales, because that is where money is actually exchanged. It's always, always, always in sales. You take sales out, no money's exchanged. That's literally the definition of sales. So learn those 3 things. That way you can generate as much income as possible. Get those 3 things down. Get those 3 things down. So trust, value, and status. If you want to learn more about sales, I post about sales all the time. You can check the Instagram profile in the comments below. If you want to get really good at sales and you can learn from the best, you can even join our team. There's a link in that in our Instagram as well. Or at the very least, just leave a comment. Who knows, maybe you disagree with me. I'd like to hear what you had to say. All right, peace out.